Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Mr. Zafar here. It's the start of a new year, 2021, and with that, we go into a new year of power creep hell and with the arrival of overdress. I mean, honestly, I just want to get hit in the bank. Regardless, today is a budget deck profile, and I have to highlight this as a budget deck because I don't want y'all bringing this to your tournaments expecting it to win. This is Dueling Dragons, and I put some Baku here. Later, you will see the rest of the deck. It's a basic Excel beatdown, but with a lot of fun control variants on it, which I think is really neat. It's a lot of disruption, but there is a lot of niche thoughts and applications for this deck, and that is why I wanted to do a deck profile on it. I've actually had this deck since it was finished building, but I still was testing a lot of ratios, and I couldn't quite decide what exactly I could do. Murakumo is a client that I don't usually play, and to make matters worse, Murakumo just has so many different sets of support overlapping that it makes it almost impossible for you to say, alright, there is only one card that supports one archetype, because the same thing can be used for so many different archetypes since they're so similar yet so different. Regardless, we will now go into this deck profile. If you like this deck profile, please let me know in the comment section below. If you have any suggestions, any thoughts, anything, just leave it in the comment section below. Let's begin. Let's start. So for a grade 3 lineup, we play 10 grade 3s. We play 4 Zanbaku, 3 Zangeki, and 3 Zantetsu. So we'll go through each grade 3 first. Zanbaku, his skill is CB1 SB1, and then you search your deck for an arrestor. Any arrestor, as long as it has the word arrestor in it. And that's very important because we'll show you that in just a bit. Then after that, you call it, and this unit gains plus 5k. If you have left arrestor and right arrestor, your opponent is unable to write a grade 3 from a grade 3 until the end of his next turn. So it's a really simple skill. It's a literal +1 rearguard, and it has that extra little niche, which is to stop you from writing from a grade 3 to another grade 3. Now, of course, this is during your right phase only, so this does not stop any of the pedo strides. For example, you cannot use Chrono Jet. No, this does. You can use Chrono Jet, you can use Tavas, you can use Chrono Fang, you can use Lost Legend, you can use Lost Legend. Basically, anything that does the whole stride thing but non-right phase, Zanbaku can't stop it. Zanbaku is strictly during the right phase. So anybody who has to constantly rewrite during the right phase, you're gone because Zanbaku just stops. However, it's from a grade 3 to another grade 3, which means going first, you do lose this little niche, and I think that's very important to take note moving forward. So Zanbaku really goes well going second, but I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter. As we see in the rest of the deck, most people give up playing Dueling Dragons, or at least they don't care about it because it's too niche of an application to be like, it's just, if you go second, it's a coin flip. Why not just play stronger coin flip decks? But you see, that's because most decks were betting on the whole right lock requirement. This deck takes a different approach in the sense that we are more focused on playing normally in terms of Excel. The right locks and whatever other mechanics we throw around are more of a fun thing. It's just, because I can, I will. And it does generate me advantage by denying you or so and so. Particularly, Zanbaku is really, really painful against decks that are relied on the vanguard for their combinations, especially if the vanguard needs to attack. And you will see why as we move along. I figured I should touch on Zantetsu first. Zantetsu is very unique because I don't think anybody actually saw this coming. Zantetsu is a brand new Dueling Dragon from VBT09. Seems as Night Rose. But the thing is that, legit, he came out of literally nowhere. Nobody predicted it. In the manga, it was only Zanbaku and Zantetsu. But what is Zantetsu's skill? Zantetsu's skill is, as a Vanguard himself, you give all of your arrestor units 5k power continuously. So if you have an arrestor column, it just gains like a net total of 10, which is really good considering it's free. And then you also have stuff like Central Arrestor, who attacks from the back row, and now he just becomes an auto 14k attacker from the back row. Use his own skill, it gets even worse. We will touch into all of these in just a bit. The second skill of Zantetsu is the really interesting one. Deal yourself 1 point of damage, but you're not allowed to take a damage check. Yeah, so you just add the top card of your deck to the damage zone. You don't get to check. If you get a heal, too bad, you whiffed it. Then you search your deck for 2 arresters and you Superior Call. It's a once per turn skill, Vanguard or Rearguard. It's once per turn in purple box. It does not actually state the heart or only by 1 card of this name per turn, which means if you have Zantetsu on the vanguard or rearguard, or even worse, 2 rearguard Zantetsus, feel free to use both their skills. Just eat 2 damage, call 4 arresters. Pretty stonks. But the thing is, you are taking 1 point of damage and you don't get it back. So there are pluses and minuses to this. The major plus is obviously for Zanbaku, because Zanbaku, to use this combination, which I'll show later, it needs 3 counter blasts, which can be denied quite easily since it is 3 counter blasts. But now with Zantetsu rolling around, the counter blast denial option is not very accessible because, oh, I don't have enough, I'll just take 1 myself and then I get it. Plus I get to super call 2 rearguards, which is really good for beatdown. If you're not talking about Zanbaku, if you're just using it in a regular, Excel attack strategy, then you can think of it this way. I take 1 point of damage in the hopes of superior calling 2 rearguards that can hopefully deal you a point of damage, thus making it worth it, and I get to keep presence on the board. So that's pretty appreciated. But of course, the obvious drawback is you take a point of damage and you don't even get a damage check. So yeah, but it's on vanguard or rearguard, so keep that in mind. The last grade 3 we'll cover is Dueling Dragon King Zangeki. Zangeki, in this list, you notice I'm playing him at 3, which is pretty much like heresy to anyone who's grown up playing Dueling Dragons in V, since you don't usually see people play 3 anymore. It's usually 2. But why am I playing at 3? The thing is, while I was testing, first of all, I don't play Ataka, so that could be a reason why. But even when I did, or I did not, there are times where I don't actually get to see a turn for Zangeki. And I'm going to read you the skill and then you'll understand why. Zangeki's skill is both continuous skills. If you have left arrester or right arrester, if you have left arrester on your rearguard, this unit gains plus 5k. If you have right arrester, this unit gains plus 1 crit. Now, this is continuous during both turns, which means if you keep your left arrester during your opponent's turn and you're on Zangeki, he becomes a 17k base. He is the first continuous 17k base. It's 17/18k base in Vanguard V. Earlier than Blade Master, earlier than MLB, but nope, people just stop playing it. I just think it's really good that he gets to keep it, because now if your opponent wants to attack you and make a more effective play, the problem is that they can't just always just, oh, I attack your Vanguard directly. No, some of them who don't have spot removal problems will now have to change their resources a bit to go after left arrester. But the thing is, with stuff like Zantetsu, you most probably, or if hopefully very likely, have more than 1 left arrester, which means you could have 2 left arresters. Then you have to attack both. What? So this is especially painful for decks that don't have spot removal, and it makes it very hard. The crit also works on the same basis as well. If you have more than 1 right arrester, you'll always have that crit, and free crits are always appreciated here on this channel, and I think on most people's decks. The second skill is more lethal. If you have a Dueling Dragon in the soul, just a Dueling Dragon, your opponent can only call grade 0 to the Guardian Circle. And keep in mind, this is not just for Zangeki's attack, which means this guard restrict not just for him. It's for everybody. Everyone in the Excel Circle, your rear guard, your back row central arrester, everyone has this restriction, which makes it very hard considering if you've checked, there are only 16 triggers, 16 grade 0s in, a deck, which means that when you go to Zangeki, you're basically telling him, if you don't have enough of these 16 cards, you are going to die. Now, the thing is obviously that, it doesn't matter. It's small Excel, You just take a damage, get damage trigger, your assault is down. Which is why for this deck, as you see later on, I play front triggers in the hope of mitigating this effect. It really takes on a more Zangeki beatdown approach, but at the same time to try and use the lock if I can, because the lock is just good if you get to pull it off, and we'll show you more in just a bit. Moving on to our grade 2s. The grade 2s is quite obvious what we're playing. We have to play 4 left arrester, and of course we have to play 4 right arrester. But in addition, we also play 3 central arrester. So now we're going to the skills. They're all relatively easy. Left arrester's skill is, when he attacks, if you have another arrester unit, just soul blast 1, and then he gains, 5k. So it's literally just 14k for soul blast. Which, in any deck, it's like, bro, this is so trash. It's a rare, so it's expected. But the problem is not that he's bad. The problem is more of his name is what you're here for. You want the arresters in town, because the Dueling Dragons really capitalize on the Arrestor rearguards and make it extremely lethal. It's true that Arrestors as themselves, if you continue watching this video, they're just really bad units. Like there is no situation in which you would pick this over any other normal grade 2 in an XL. Worse when you get to Right Arrestor, but it is an Arrestor, so we are using it. 4 copies of Right Arrestor. Now, Right Arrestor is the interesting one. Right Arrestor's skill is, when placed, Counterblast 2, Counterblast 2, if your Vanguard is Zanbaku, you get to Counterblast 2 and put one, no, don't say Counterblast 2 twice, okay? Just, if your Vanguard is Zanbaku when placed, CB2, put one card from your hand to the soul, your opponent cannot stand. The opponent's Vanguard just cannot stand, it's just full stop. It needs to have, if I'm not mistaken, you need to have another Arrestor rearguard. Yeah, you just need to have another Arrestor rearguard, that's right. So, how does this actually work? Zanbaku searches for any Arrestor, which counts for Right Arrestor as well. So you don't have to keep a Right Arrestor in hand because the skill does not specifically need it to be from hand. So you could just have like another Arrestor, like say you have one of these two, and then you have Zanbaku. Zanbaku skills, count plus 1, soul plus 1. You call this guy. Then you use his skill, count plus 1, count plus 2, put one card from hand to soul, and then after that, you prevent your opponent from able to stand. The thing is, if you actually read into the Vanguard rules, if your Vanguard cannot stand, then that should be no problem. I can just write a new one, and it will be written as stand. But then, if you remember Zanbaku's skill, you cannot write from a grade 3 to a grade 3, which is why the Zanbaku lock is perfect when you're going second. If you're already at grade 3, I just go into Zanbaku, I use this combination, I lock you out of your grade 3. You just can't use your Vanguard anymore. You can use activated skills, maybe some auto skills, but anything to do with on attack, your fancy plus 5 drives, nah, it ain't working on me. And it's just really effective having this as such a niche tool. It's true, like what some people I've talked to have mentioned. Zanbaku is very reactive, so it's not that great. Which is why building an entire deck focused on Zanbaku has been very difficult, because you need to strike a balance between what is my reactive decisions as well as what is my actual game plan going forward. Let's say I can't lock them, it's that all my deck can do, which is why stuff like Zangeki, Zantetsu, and the rest all come into play. But now we move on to our last breakthrough, which is Central Arrestor. Central Arrestor is a brand new Arrestor who came in VBT 06. So he's been around here and there, but he's forgotten because Murakumo. What is Central Arrestor's skill? His skill is, if he's in the back row of the middle column, that means the spot right behind your Vanguard. Like, you know where you put Valkyrian behind Uranus? Yeah, you put this guy. Then he can attack from the back row if your Vanguard is a Dueling Dragon. Sorry, he can attack from the back row regardless. If your Vanguard is a Dueling Dragon, he gains 5,000 power for each Arrestor rearguard that's not him around. So basically, the more people you have on board that are Arrestors, you can pump your power up quite a fair bit and swing from the back row, which is another attack. It's really good considering stuff like Zangeki, because you have the guard restraint, or just considering Zantetsu, because Zantetsu is such a good consistency engine if you can take the damage to build a board. It's just free plus, not really free plus, it's at the cost of your health. It's just good plussing, so generally Central Arrestor is pretty good. You may think, oh, if he can be only used at the back row center column, why am I playing 3? The thing is that you only have so many number of Arrestors, so you just need to have as many Arrestors as possible. I'm not playing 4 because of the fact that I play 3 Zangeki, which is quite heavy in the deck, so I do need to cut down on how many grade 2s I play. But I mean, some people even got to play 4 Central Arrestor. You can just call a Central Arrestor to any other normal attacking column and just swing, and it's still worth it because it's an Arrestor. It can be searched. It gives power to the Central Arrestor behind. So it's just so many benefits they just can't deny not playing it. If in the future they release more better Arrestors, or even give you cards that call themselves Arrestors but they're not actually Arrestors or something, it'll be really good because I'll probably just remove 3/4 of these cards in the grade 2 section. But as it is, this is the current lineup for grade 2s. Moving on to our grade 1s, we have, where's my grade 1s? Here. We play 4 Jiraiya, we play 4 copies of Riko Slump, and we also play 4 backwards arrestor. And as you just noticed, it's a grade 1 arrestor. Because when we got Zantetsu with VBT09, we were also given a brand new arrestor, who also happened to be a rare for some reason. But it is a grade 1 arrestor, which is just groundbreaking. But let's go through everything all together. Spoilers, not really spoilers, disclaimer before I continue. If you have Ataka, you can play Ataka in the slot of Riko Slump. So I just want to put it out of the way. I don't think it's worth buying Ataka for Dueling Dragons unless you already had it, but if not, I think Riko Slump is just good. So let me explain. First you have Jiraiya. Jiraiya has a vanguard and rearguard skill. When placed, let me read this here, I can't see. When placed, draw a card and then put a card from your hand to the bottom of your deck. It's just really basic filtering and it's pretty good considering the deck is piece reliant. If you open up with too many, grade 3s or too many grade 2s, you can just cycle one out and hope for the best, and it just improves your odds of getting what you want. It's too good, it's free. The second skill is count +1, choose your vanguard, and it gains plus 10k. Generally, you don't really have a lot of counter blasts if you use the Zanbaku lock. But what if you don't? If you don't, this is just a wonderful way to actually use your counter blast, which trust me, you'll have a lot. So you can just, start flipping it over, and especially, I stress this, when you're on Zangeki. When you're on Zangeki and you use this skill, even if it's just 1 copy of Jiraiya, Zangeki becomes a 27k, attacker if you've done the steps in this video correctly. And it's just amazing because it goes through so many magic numbers, and the fact that you're only able to use it triggers to guard is just good. Like I also should have mentioned, but if you don't know, I'll say it now. Zangeki actually hard stops protect. So if you are using protect, sorry fam, it's just not working. So protect 1 to be specific. Who plays protect 2? So it's just really good all around, and that's why I'll continue to play Jiraiya. We move on to this guy, Riko Slump. He's probably someone new you've not seen, called Murakumo, but his skill is actually really neat. His skill is, after he boosts an attack, right, he chooses 1 card from that column, that means the column he's in, put it to the bottom of your deck, choose 2 of your units, and it gains 5k power. For those of you who remember Pelennor from Limit Break, this is basically Pelennor but a slug. Yeah, that's literally it. The text is almost exactly the same as Pelennor, let's be real. But why am I playing a little Pelennor snail in my deck? Well, the answer, beyond sentimental value, is more of its utility. By sending cards from your column back, you open up slots, which this helps for early aggression. Because as I mentioned just now, you want your board to be arresters. So you don't want these little fellas just loitering after your grade 2 or grade 1 push. Especially for stuff like back row arrestor, backwards arrestor, which you really need that slot. So you could just send him back, and then you now have slots to call him in. Or even better, or it's more situationally, if you need to send back arresters that you boost to the bottom of your deck in order to support a future calling from Zantetsu, you can use this as well. It's generally just a good toolkit and to replenish your deck, and it gives you a neat 5k to 2 units, so it's a net 10k power boost. It is still pretty okay. You are making an overall loss, but considering you're trying to rush down your opponent and open up slots, I think it's still worth it. Of course, some people will still say, oh, but Ataka is good. Yeah, then play Ataka if you want. I'm not stopping you. But this is a budget deck, and for what it's worth, I think this is the best grade 1 option you can play in Dueling Dragons. The last card is obviously Backwards Arrestor. His skill is really simple. When he boosts an Arrestor, it has to be an Arrestor, you soul charge 1, and then the boosted unit gains 10,000 power. So it's an 18k booster with a free soul charge. The whole text is free, which is exactly what this deck needed, especially when you combine this with our really bad 14k beat stick. You soul blast, they gain 5k, you soul charge, they gain 10k. Overall, it's just like milling yourself for 1 card if you really think about it. Milling yourself 1, gain 15k for a column. It's just unheard of anywhere in the world of Excel for free. I mean, why not? It's just good. Or even if you don't use the combo, just boosting it with right arrestor or central arrestor even, it's still just an 18k booster, which is really good. And it's not like the Soul Charge is to bad use. I mean, we don't really have Soul Blasters besides Zanbaku. Yeah, we don't really have any other Soul Blasters besides Zanbaku, but it's still appreciated, you know. It's just a free 10k overall, and it is an arrestor, so it can be searched for. This is generally one of the more better arresters that I look forward to playing whenever I use Dueling Dragons, so you should definitely play this guy at 4, no matter what the rest of your grade 1 lineup is for Dueling Dragons. Unless, like I said, unless in Overdress is straight up, you know, oh, here's 18 new arresters of grade 1 and grade 2, then I'll throw this whole deck out, I'll just swap to that, so just so you know. Our grade 1 lineup is really easy. We play 4 heal, 6 front, 6 draw, and our starter. I chose this starter because he looks the most similar to a dragon, but if you want to play whatever you want to play, because I know Murakumo has a lot of weird starters, go ahead. So 4 heal is pretty standard, 4 draw PG, pretty standard. We play 6 draw, because we need a draw. Then we play front. And that's the most controversial part of this trigger option, because a lot of people who see Dueling Dragon deck profiles around net, you tend to see a lot more crits, and you'll be wondering, why fronts? Generally, Dueling Dragons has such a good ability to build and maintain presence on the board, albeit they don't do very well against, you know, board wipes, because it's hard to rebuild. But when you have a good board, it can maintain, and it can do wonders with the magic numbers, plus stuff like guard restrict from Zangeki, or even just a great lock restriction with Zanbaku. It's just good. So you want to make sure that every one of your rear guards gets a good attack in, and with front triggers, it really just boosts that opportunity so much more than a crit can do. I mean, yeah, crit gives you a pressure, but let's say you pull a crit. You give one guy the trigger boost, you attack with him, then you end your turn, because everyone else is too small to hit the opponent, you know, because of damage triggers and whatnot. But with front, you pull a damage trigger, I pull a front, it's negated, I can continue, which is just really good. Overall, it's just so beneficial for this deck. It's not like other stuff when you play, I don't know, Narukami, or if you play Go Paladin even, you want to push for damage because the number ain't much of a problem to you. But for stuff like Zanbaku, numbers are a problem for him. So help him out, give him a front, and who knows, maybe he'll help you win. So that is about it for my Dueling Dragon deck profile. I talked a lot more than I should have for a deck that literally costs less than my playmat. But what do you guys think? Please let me know in the comment section below. Like I said, it's a budget deck, so stuff like Ataka was not in this deck. If you have Ataka, use it. If you don't have Ataka, is it a must? Absolutely not. You also notice that this is a pure beatdown Dueling Dragons deck. You don't see Shirayuki. Do I recommend Shirayuki? I mean, it's really up to your local meta and what you face against. I just think Shirayuki is good, but it's not very helpful when you're trying to just blitz your opponent down to death. So, that's just my thoughts about it. Let me know in the comment section below what y'all think. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see y'all next time. Goodbye.